power corrupts. That's the just the nature of it, you know? Power, I think um power indefinitely corrupts.
No, power is neutral. It's the person
Really?
who wields it that decides if it's good or evil.
Well, what
If you
I'm saying is it doesn't matter
you're
necessarily.
saying it'll always turn people evil.
Because people are inherently greedy. Like where pleasure is, I mean, it's a chemical in our brain. Pleasure, happiness, it's all just chemicals released by electricity.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you we can go into whole simulation theory, everything, and where I have a whole spiel on that, but we don't need to talk about that. But it's I mean, we're all just a product of something similar. And so I mean, how can you prove to me that just these fundamental factors don't apply to all of us? you know
That that anyone is above anyone else and that power will always corrupt us.
I think there was a quote. I don't remember from who, but I think the quote was absolute power corrupts. I may be wrong. um I don't know from
Absolute power.
is that
If
even.
I had the power to literally do anything, would I abuse that power? Yeah, I think that's more accurate. That, like, if someone had the ability to literally do anything to anyone or anything, then yeah, that probably would get to someone's head for the average human being.
Yeah, so John Dalberg, I don't know. John Dalberg Acton, whoever this guy is, um accredited with the quote, power tends to corrupt and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's pretty accurate.
Power tends to corrupt.
Power tends to corrupt,
So it's
yes.
not everyone. I could be pretty cool if you gave me all your money and power.
Uh
You can't
I don't know
promise
if
it.
I would I don't
You
know if I would
can't
trust
you
you.
can't promise it, but it could happen. I could be a wild card. I could be the coolest guy in the world.
Uh,
Pete, what are these faces you're making?
nothing,
You think
dude.
you would do better with absolute power?
No, because I don't need absolute power to be
What
happy,
if
man.
someone gave you absolute power?
I mean, over what?
Everything.
Over
You're the
everything?
emperor of planet Earth.
I mean,
You could hire. You could. You don't even need to hire. You could tell people to make your website for you. You could just point at You could point at toddlers and say, "These people need to make a website, or I'll execute them."
oh, that's
You could. You
that's
have absolute.
evil.
It's absolute power.
I know
You
that's
could do
evil.
anything.
I
You could steal all of Elon Musk's technology and declare it as your own.
I definitely wouldn't do that.
You could.
No, I mean, I guess it just depends on moral compass more than it depends on. I like I'm pretty idealistic in the sense that if you've got a strong moral compass and if you've got a strong set of ethical codes within yourself, then you're just not gonna adhere to those vices,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
guess.
And like I like to think that I'm pretty disciplined about things that I do, whether it comes to working out or I guess just even like adhering to diets, like anything of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think I consider myself someone that really succumbs to vices much. And so and I like to treat people the right way, the way they should be treated. I'm not saying I'm some kind of moral standard or anything. I'm just
You're
I
a
was I
saint.
was raised right. That's simple as that. And so if I was in a position like the an emperor position, I honestly wouldn't know what to do. Like I don't feel the need to make other people bend their own will just for mine.
What would you do if you were like the emperor of a country and you had like 10,000 subjects? You had 10,000 people who you could leave alone, leave the villagers alone, or you could like actually boss them around.
I honestly I've never thought of it, dude.
It's
Cuz
fun.
I don't, yeah, like I just don't feel the need to have to rule over people
But
like that.
there have been rulers.
I
Like
mean,
people with power.
yeah, obviously, I
So
know that.
like that is a phenomenon that has occurred in human history
I'm gonna think about that. I'm gonna think about it. But you tell me yours. What would you do?
with absolute power.
Yeah, if you were basically the end all be all ruler of a land as far as the eye can see, and like no one could say squat to you, what would you do?
Honestly, if I was Emperor of Earth, I would. I don't know what I would do, but no,
Ah,
no, no, no. I said
it's the
Emperor of
pot
Earth,
calling the
Emperor of
kettle
Earth,
or
and the reason why Emperor of Earth I'd be lost a bit is simply because like if you can do anything like on your whim, then all of it's kind of meaningless. It has no value because
that's true.
like all of it was at the snap of my fingers. I didn't have to do anything, and I'm not the type of person who kind of takes other people's work as my own. I usually take pride in my own work. However, if I was the emperor of my own country, the I honestly no, because Romania right now is not really is suffering a lot of corruption,
Wow.
and well, like all the Eastern European countries.
I mean, that's basically every country
Yeah,
on
but
Earth right
they're
now.
they're pretty bad.
No, that's fair.
Um, and I was thinking, is there like a way to like save them? Because like the politicians are the evil ones. It's not like the Romanian people are like bad people. In my eyes, they're like some of the smartest, most brilliant people in the world. But
Hmm.
if all their money and food is being stolen from them, and all their natural resources being sold to other countries for nothing,
Wow.
so it's just like, what would like how would you save it? And honestly, the the answer is unfortunately you really have to get rid of everyone that's currently ruling and kind of have like a one kind or like a dictatorship or a emperor, you know, someone who just has absolute control to just kind of tell people to get order back in to bring order back. The only problem with that is that's absolute power, and going
Well, don't we have a conundrum now?
no, the conundrum is that the world doesn't like the notion of a dictatorship,
Yeah.
which is half silly because if a
What?
dictator is responsible, are they is it a bad thing? Hypothetically, if a dictator did not abuse their power and actually used everything they could to make the country great without subjugating their people, is that a bad dictator? I know it doesn't happen often,
Well,
but or at
mm,
all. But theoretically, if a dictator did not do anything, like they didn't kill people, they didn't spy on people, they didn't censor them, they just kind of had absolute control. What's the problem? And all the Western countries would say the problem is that he has absolute power, that it's not giving them the right to choose who their ruler is. That'll be the argument for all
yeah.
the other countries. But in your heart of hearts, is that a bad like is the system bad if it worked?
Um,
It's an interesting thought because
well, I mean, it's idealistic because, human nature would never allow for a person with absolute like I mean, the quote is the way it is because, it's just in human nature. Cuz we're tribal, dude. We are a herd mentality species,
right,
and we like to do things in groups, and it obviously like it's part of our nature to kind of seek an alpha or seek a leader within a group, but when that leader is doing stuff that
you don't like.
yeah you don't like, then you figure out a way to turn on him. That's just human nature.
Right.
And so this quote unquote dictatorship you speak of, like, is this dictator doing everything in his power to please everybody? Because it's just not possible. Like, what you're describing is utopian in one sense because everyone's gonna live happily ever after, but dystopian in a sense that no one can be pleased.
Right.
Not everyone can be pleased by the same things.
How about temporary emperor? No, because the Roman Empire, which was pretty successful at some point in history, they had a rule.
Well, that's because they had a
No, no,
just a
they
crap
had
ton of land,
no, no,
dude.
but they had a rule, and the rule was they can instantiate a temporary emperor during times of emergency. Like if they needed action done quickly, the people, the republic, or whatever the name of the Roman rulers was, they would put in someone, they would get someone and make them the emperor, the decision maker during a state of emergency. And once the emergency was settled or the emperor died, then they would go back to the way things were. And I feel that's such a novel idea because, like,
Why novel?
what does novel mean? New?
Yeah.
When in history has there ever been like a placeholder ruler, like a temporary guy to make decisions?
I mean, one example is in the U.S. when
The only
president,
no,
when the
no.
president is incapable, we'll say, of being at the helm, for instance, like the next person up is the vice president. Then after that,
That's
it's
never happened
Speaker of the
before.
House.
That almost never happens.
I mean, no, it's happened before, like with
Nixon.
JFK.
Well, no,
And
that's
Nixon,
death. Yeah. That's not a state of emergency. The only time I can think of a state of emergency was during World War II, when was it FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president during those times?
I don't remember actually. I think Harry Truman was the one that called for the atomic bomb. So I think, yeah, FDR was before him.
The one who did the majority of World War II.
I think a lot of the legislation.
The president. This was the only president in American history that had 4 terms instead of 2, because up until
it was 3 terms.
3, not 4.
Yes.
I know it was more than 2 because it was never in American history. It was never established that it was a rule that the president could only go twice. And then someone got elected more than twice. It's like, okay, by the way, we need him only twice now.
Yeah. Which is it was FDR, and it was 3 terms.
But like, he was elected like, and no one like argued with him. Republicans, Democrats got along for the first time in probably ever, simply because it was kind of a state of emergency. Now it's not the time to argue.
I mean, look, that's kind of logical though, why they were getting along, dude. I mean, like if if you have a common enemy, then you're gonna team up. It doesn't matter.
No, but like just the notion of like during a state of emergency, you put all your petty squabble, you put all your corruption aside, and just work together and start listening to each other. It's stupid. It's really stupid that it has to come at the cost of a state of emergency for people to like go together to like listen to each other and treat each other respectfully. But like it's an interesting concept.
Well, my friend, it's called survival instinct.
Maybe.
No, it's not maybe. It's 100% because of that. I mean, think about it. When you are in desperate need, or when your life is in jeopardy, you're going to do everything you can to try to keep yourself alive, right?
Yeah.
And so in this case, let's think of the US government and all its constituents as an organism, for lack of better analogies. I mean, it's going to figure out a way to kind of keep itself alive, right? And if the only way is to perpetuate a war, which it has done in the past, I won't say which ones, but it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, but World War II, we didn't start World War II.
Yeah, no, I know.
We finished it.
Yeah, I guess that's
honestly,
a lot of Americans will say back-to-back World War champs. I find that pretty funny, but it's pretty bad.
Honestly, if Japan left us alone, America probably would have died, or got, because.
Well, yeah, coming out of the Depression. Dude, I mean...
We were still in the Depression.
Yeah.
Like, it was only because Japan was like, we got him now, that, like...
And then...
We were like, hey, guys, we have a war economy now. We didn't have any other economies, but now we got a new one.
Basically. I mean,
and now...
very, very, very similar to what we're going through today, in a way. But we'll get to that part after. I want to say, yeah, I mean, in general... The idea of survival is just doing anything in your power to try to, I guess, hinder those transgressions against you. And so, like if you're gonna bite the bullet and team up with a prior enemy, or an enemy you had prior to the event, then you're gonna do it, because it just means that you'll get to live one more day. And that's exactly what the Democrats and Republicans did. And so. We will do everything to preserve ourselves. At the end of the day, it's almost as like Darwin would. I think Darwin would smile at this and say, "This is quite the adaptation that human beings have created. Like socially, they've come so far as to literally be friends with the people they hate temporarily just so that they can survive from people that they hate even more.
When was the expression coined, keep your friend close and keep your enemy closer?
Well, this is the opposite, what I'm talking about, of that.
Not really.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, right. When enemies team up rather than backstabbing.
Yeah, because they have a common threat.
Oh.